Hello class, welcome to lab number 2, installing Ubuntu for Windows users and Intel Macs using Virtualbox 7. I am currently in my Windows 11 computer, so let's get started. If you are not using Windows 11, this will also work in Windows 10, provided that your computer has the necessary hardware. If your MacBook is not an Intel Mac, you should follow this guide over here for M-series MacBook computers. Okay, this is the table of contents. Essentially, it takes 7 steps to complete this lab. And then you are gonna prepare a document for submission, obviously written in Markdown. Now, to get familiar with what we are doing over here, I recommend that you go over these presentations over here. This one we covered during class. This one you can ignore because it's just on Virtualbox, and I have not updated this presentation to the latest version of Virtualbox. However, this one has. So if you open this one, it's gonna guide you through the whole installation process, including a guide on how to create a virtual machine and everything that goes along the way. Let's close that over there. So what are the requirements for this lab? Obviously time. Obviously reading the presentation so that you know what we are doing. Take your time, do one step at a time, and if you need to take a break and continue some other time, make sure that you finish that step before you move on to the following step. And I think that's about it. Obviously, if you have any questions, if you are having issues, you are free to reach out to me via Slack and I will be there to help you. So step number 1 will be enabling virtualization. If you are using an Intel MacBook computer that meets the necessary hardware requirements for the class, you do not need to enable virtualization as it is already enabled. Now, for Windows, sometimes computer manufacturers disable this feature. So we need to check and make sure that this feature is enabled. So how do we do that? There are many ways to do it, but the easiest way is to actually opening the Task Manager. So, Task Manager. And then in here, we are gonna go to the CPU section, and then you should see an option that says virtualization enabled. If it is disabled for you, you will see an option that says virtualization disabled over here. Okay, so we're gonna move this out of the way because we're gonna go back to the Task Manager again later. After you confirm that virtualization is enabled in your system, then you can move on with checking that you have the necessary hardware to complete this lab. If virtualization is disabled, then you can use this guide over here to figure out how to enable virtualization for your computer. Again, for every computer, this is gonna be different, and it will require that you go into the EFI menu of your computer or BIOS and modify certain settings there. You should Google how to do it for your specific motherboard or computer. I don't think this will apply to a lot of people because most computers have virtualization enabled, at least most recent computers do. If you're having problems with that, again, you can reach out to me and I can walk you through that process. Now let's check that our computer meets the requirement for this. And the first thing that we're gonna need is a quad-core CPU at a minimum. So I'm gonna go back to the Task Manager and click on CPU. I can see here that I have 8 cores available, so I meet that requirement. The amount of RAM that we need is gonna be 8 gigabytes or more. 8 because Ubuntu is going to use 4 of those. So how much RAM do I have? Well, I can see here that my computer has sufficient RAM. I have 16 gigabytes in this machine, so we are good. Storage, we need at least 60 gigabytes of available space. So I'm going to open my File Explorer, this PC, and I have sufficient space. So I have 351 free out of 500, so I have sufficient space to continue. Now, once we have confirmed that our computer can do the job, we're gonna move along to step number 2. And the step number 2, we need to install the software that we're gonna use, the hypervisor, which is Virtualbox. And we also need to install Microsoft C++ Redistributable. Now, we're just gonna open these two links over here. Let's click on VirtualBox. We are on Windows. If you're on Mac, you click on Mac. If you're on Linux, you can either install from here or you can install from your software repositories. If you want to know how to do it on Linux, then I can make a video on that as well, but it's very easy. So we're going to click on Windows Host, and we're also going to install the extension pack. So click on all supported platforms. And now that we have these two over here, we need to install the C++ Redistributable. And what we want is the x86-64, because that is the platform that we have. So let's click over here. Perfect. Now let's install all of this. So again, there is a video here as well that shows you how to do it, but we're gonna do it here anyway. So let's open the file manager. I'm gonna go to my downloads because that's what everything is. And let me install the Redistributable first. Seems like it's uninstalled in my computer already. I'm just gonna click repair just for the sake of it. In your case, it's gonna say install. This is very, very quickly. And done. Now I need to restart my computer for this. This sucks. Let me close this. Now we're going to install VirtualBox. So let me go through this. Let me see if it lets me do it without needing to restart my computer, because I don't want to pause the video and then have to merge two videos. This is just too much work. Oh yeah, it let me do it. I'm not going to start VirtualBox. I'm going to click on finish, and I'm going to install the extension pack. Install. Yes, I agree to this. Click on yes. And the extension has been installed. If you get an error, the error is going to appear right here on the corner. If you want to confirm that the extension pack has been installed, you can just go to the file. I believe it's here in Tools, Extension Pack Manager, and you should see a green check mark on the side. So let's go back here to the welcome screen. And again, I'm just going to move this on the side because we're going to use it again. Next thing, you need to create a virtual machine that meets the requirement that you see over here. But before we do that, we need to download the installation media for Ubuntu 24.04. So again, let's open this URL over here, which is going to take you straight to the download site. And all we have to do is click on this green button over here. Give it a second. The download is going to start shortly. In my computer, it will take about a minute to download. This will depend on your internet connection. So let's just wait a minute. Okay. The file has downloaded successfully. Please do not open this file. Do not open this file. If you open this ISO file, Windows is gonna mount it in your system as if it is an actual DVD. And that's not gonna work for us. We need the file as is. Just download the file and do not touch it. Let's go here and let's make our virtual machine. I'm gonna put this side by side. Oh, that's fine. Click on new, give it a name. This should be a descriptive name. I'm gonna call it Ubuntu Desktop because it is the desktop version of Ubuntu and the version is 24.04. This should be descriptive enough. The folder should remain the same unless you want to place them somewhere else. I recommend leaving them in its default folder. And here is where we're gonna mount the ISO image, right? So that we can pass it to our virtual machine as an installation medium. So click on Other, navigate to where your file is. Mine is in the downloads folder because that's where all my downloads go. And then here, make sure you click on Skip Unattended Installation. We are going to do this manually, so make sure that you click on Skip Unattended Installation. Otherwise, things are gonna go wrong with you and you're gonna have to start all over again. Click on Next. The amount of RAM that we want is 4096, which is equal to 4 gigabytes, and we want 2 CPU cores because that is the minimum that Ubuntu Desktop needs. In the amount of storage, the recommended here is 50, so I'm gonna give it 50. It works with 40, but I recommend 50. Click on Next, click on Finish. Now we're gonna open the settings of this virtual machine because there are some other things we need to fix. Here in advance, make sure you change this to bi-directional. In the description, we're gonna put some notes here for ourselves. First of all, the host name or the name of our computer in the network. We're gonna call this CIS 106. If you wanna be more descriptive, you can call it CIS 106 desktop so that you don't confuse it with a server that you will be installing later on in the semester. Your username is gonna be whatever you want as your username. I'm just gonna choose my initial. You know, one good idea for your username could be your Blackboard username, for example, or you can call it Platano123. I don't particularly mind. And now the password. Now, I'm gonna choose something very simple, PCCC or 123. Whatever that you want that is easy to remember. We want to keep it simple because this is a testing environment. This isn't a production environment. We're not going to put nothing important here. So we want to keep things as simple as they can because at the end of the day, this is a learning environment. So in system here, we're going to disable floppy disk because it's not 1998 and we don't use that anymore. We're going to leave the rest as is. This stays the same as it is, we don't need to change. In display, we're gonna increase the video memory to 128, which is the max. We're gonna leave the rest as is. In the storage, there is nothing we need to do here. And in audio, we're gonna disable audio because we're not gonna use it in the entire semester. There is no need to have audio in our virtual machine. The rest of the settings, I will explain them as the semester go along. Click OK, and here we're gonna click on Start. This should start our virtual machine, and the virtual machine should load the installation media for Ubuntu 24.04. So here, yes, capture my keyboard and mouse. At this point, the keyboard and mouse has been transferred from my host, which is Windows, to Linux, and the virtual machine has control with the keyboard and mouse. So you can see, I'm gonna press enter over here to try Ubuntu. If you wanna return the keyboard and mouse to your host, to Windows, you can press the right control key on your keyboard, and now the keyboard and mouse is controlled by your host instead of the virtual machine. So let me put this over here. I'm just gonna go full screen on this. Okay, so the live environment has booted, and now let's start our installation. So let's click on English as our language and click on Next. I don't have any disabilities, so I'm not going to play around with these settings, but if you have any disabilities, here's where you can adjust it. Click on Next. My keyboard layout is English. It should grab it automatically, and I'm going to use wired connection, which means that my virtual machine is connected to the internet via my host computer. Let's click on Next, and we have an update of the installer, and we're going to click on Update Now because we want to install the system with the latest version of the installer. This shouldn't take long, about a minute or two. See? Now let's close the installer, which is gonna throw us to Ubuntu's live environment, but we can launch the installer one more time from here, and it should just open it straight into the next step. There you go. Again, language is English, accessibility as is, English, wire connection, and now here we can choose between two types of installation. We're gonna use the interactive installation because the automated installation is more for when you are installing multiple computers at the same time, which is not what we're doing over here. In the selection of software that we're gonna use, we're just gonna stick to the default. We don't need none of the extended applications that are gonna be installed. We actually are going to install our own applications there, so we're gonna pick that. Here we're gonna pick on the third-party software and the additional media formats as well, and then let's click on Next. And I swear we're almost done with this part at least. We have two options here. We're gonna pick on Erase Disk and install Ubuntu. This is gonna install Ubuntu in the virtual hard drive of the virtual machine. Here, remember those that information that we typed earlier in the settings page over here? This is where we're gonna use that information, right? So let me close that. Your name, I just like to pick my username as my name. I like to keep it simple. My host name or computer name is CIS106. And my username is the same, and my ultra secure super password, impossible to hack, not even NASA has it as strong as me, is already here. Again, make sure you show it. Is it the same? Yes, it is the same. Yes, require password to log in, and we are not using Active Directory, so let's click on next. This should pick my locale automatically, and if it doesn't, just make sure you drop the little pin where you are currently located. Let's click on next, and let's click on install. And that's it. In 10 to 15 minutes, this installation is done. I'm gonna pause the recording now. I'm gonna go play some Resident Evil, and I'll see you in 15 minutes. Okay, the installation is complete, and now we can restart our machine. When you get to this screen over here that asks you to eject the installation media, all you have to do is press enter. The virtual machine automatically will remove the installation ISO and send you back to the desktop. Okay, at this point, we can now log in, click on your username, type in your ultra secure password, and you will be greeted with the Ubuntu desktop welcome screen. If you want to take a break and continue this lab in another occasion, this is a good time to stop, because from this point on, all we're going to be doing is optimizing this virtual machine for us to use it throughout the semester. And here we have our welcome dialog. Click on next over here, skip Ubuntu Pro. If you want to share information like system information to help improve Ubuntu, you can. And here we can finish. You can open the App Center to install new applications, but we're gonna do that in a more fun way later on. Again, this is a good time for you to stop and continue some other time if you want to, because you have already completed step 1 all the way to step number 3. And now we're going to start with step number 4, which is optimizing Ubuntu for the class. And the first thing that we're gonna do is perform an update. You can see the GIF over here that shows you what to do. So what we're gonna do is simply open a terminal. So click on the menu over here. Terminal application is right here, or you can just type the word terminal. Once you open the terminal, you're gonna type the following command: sudo apt update, 2 ampersand signs to run another command right after this one executes, and we're gonna do sudo apt upgrade. Press enter over here, type your ultra secure password. Notice that nothing appeared on the screen, but you are typing your password. It's just that for security purposes, your password is not shown there. And I type an extra C by mistake. There you go. And that's it. Now let's put Y over here for yes. Press enter. This should take about 2 to 5 minutes, more or less. There aren't that many updates available at the moment. Okie dokie, the update is done. Let's move on with the next step. Actually, I'm just gonna open this this website on my virtual machine so that we don't have to be moving back and forth. It's just gonna make our life easier this way. So here, and we're gonna go to lab number 2, and we are in step number 4. We have already performed an update. Now we're going to install some essential packages, and the first thing we're going to install is curl, which will allow us to retrieve some scripts from the internet that we need. And the first one is this one over here. No, we're not going to restart right now. We're going to restart later. So again, you can copy this line by line. Let's run the first one. Let's run the second one. And then let's run the last command over here. Now, while this executes, let me explain what this is doing. This over here is retrieving this script from the internet and downloading it to this file called essentials.sh. This is changing the mode of execution of the script file so that it can be run as a program. And this runs the program in the terminal. This one is going to remove that program because we're not going to need it anymore once we're done. And what this script is doing is installing some essential applications that we're going to need throughout the semester. That is it. Those applications are applications that I deem that are necessary for a computer to be usable and operational. And then some other utilities that we're also going to need. What is considered essential is pretty much subjective, because, for example, VS Code is an essential application for me because I use it every day, but for some people it's not. So I'm gonna let this run, I'm gonna pause the recording, and I'll come back to you once this is done. If you see this error message, you can just ignore it. Okie dokie. Now let's see if we had any issues during the installation process. We should see an red X if any of the packages failed to install, and nope. Everything installed successfully, so we are fine. Okay, now let's install VS Code because we're gonna need it. But before we do that, let's just remove this. Done, and now we can just click here and copy the whole thing and paste it in our terminal. This should take care of everything, and I'll come back when it's done. And VS Code was installed successfully. Now let's move along with LibreWolf, which is an alternative to Firefox that I like to use, and that we will use in one of our lectures as well. So may as well let's get it out of the way. And while this does its thing, let's take a look at what else we have. So we have also Ubuntu restricted extras. So we got over here. By the way, if you are a Brave browser user, I also have a script for installing Brave. I believe it's located here. I believe this is the one. Yeah, this is the one over here. So you can use this script as well to install the Brave browser if you are a Brave browser user. LibreWolf has been installed successfully. Now finally, let's install Ubuntu restricted extras. This also should be very quickly. When you get to this menu, press the Tab key on your keyboard, the one that is right above the caps lock, to move to the OK section. Press the space bar to confirm. Using the arrow keys, move it to the Yes option, and again press the space bar. Do not use Enter, use the space bar. And all done. Perfect. Now we can close this terminal because we don't need it right now. And now we're going to install the guest edition. Now I'm going to show you the easy way. If the easy way does not work for you, then follow the steps that you see over here or the video that you see over here. But again, I'm going to show you the easy way. First, you click on devices and then insert guest edition. If this option you don't see it, it's because you didn't install the extension pack. This should create a little disk over here. By clicking on it, we're gonna mount it, and now we're gonna click on Run Software. Here we can click on Run, type in your ultra secure password, and that's it. If that didn't work for you, then you have also the manual way in the instructions that you can follow, which works 100% of the time. Okay, now again, we have reached a point where you can stop and continue in a different occasion if you want, because from this point on we're gonna set up Git and GitHub. Now I'm gonna clean up the GitHub repository that I use for video recording, so that I can do this section with you as well, because I still have the stuff from last semester. So again, this is a good place to stop if you're planning on doing this lab in multiple sessions instead of one whole sit down. Let's see how this is going. Almost done, and voila, press enter. Now before we continue, it would be a good idea to restart the virtual machine. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna close the browser. Here we can unmount this, we can simply eject it, we can close it, click on the power button at the top, power button again, and then click on restart, and then click on restart. I'm gonna show you what the guest edition does. It does beautiful magic. Almost done. There you go. So now I'm gonna just sign in. But now I'm going to go full screen. Let me just wait until the desktop comes up. Perfect. And now let me go full screen and voila. Now I can use the whole screen real estate in my virtual machine, which is just great. Okay, let's open Firefox one more time. And let's navigate to our website. Perfect. This is the next section that we're gonna do. Allow me just a moment to clean up my repository and then we're gonna get back to this. Okay, we are ready to start with this one. So the first thing that we're going to do is sign into our GitHub repository. So we're here in our GitHub repository. Perfect. So now we are going to run these two commands. Now, to make your life a little bit easier, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a text file. So simply type text. This should open your text editor. Because we don't want to make a typo when we're writing this command. So what we want to do is we're going to copy these guys up. Just put them over here. Again, copy the next one. Put it over here in the next line. Again, copy the next command and then put it over here. Paste. Good. And what we want is we want to fill in the blanks here. And then we're going to copy and paste for here, from here. So what is my GitHub username? It's right over here. This is your GitHub username. So let's just copy this. Put it right over here. This is my username. So I'm going to put it right here. What is your email address? The email address that you use to sign up for this GitHub account, right? And you should be able to see it in either in your profile or you should know it by heart. So I know that the email address that I used for this was good. In your case, it will be the school email or your own email address, whatever email address you use to sign in to GitHub. That's the one you're going to use here. And then finally, for your SSH key, you're gonna put here your email address, right? So make sure that yours matches correctly what it's supposed to look like, and then we're gonna copy paste that into the terminal. Now let's go back here to our installation instructions, because there is another command we're gonna copy, and it's this one over here. So let's copy this, paste it right over here. And here we're gonna replace your GitHub username with this, which is my username. So let's copy and paste. And then finally, your repository name here, right? The name of your repository is as is spelled right over here, right? So make sure that you spelled it correctly. CIS 106, as I explained during lab number 1. CIS 106. We can get rid of this. And now let's see if I can remove the syntax highlighting here. So I want you to be able to see correctly what we're doing. That's a little better. So again, okay on that. Let's move this to the side. Copy the first command and paste it. Sorry, right over here, done. Copy the next command again and paste. To paste, I use Ctrl, Shift, and V, or you can just right click and click on paste. Either or works. And then the next one, which is to generate our SSH key, paste. enter. Here just press enter, here just press enter, here just press enter. We're not gonna be using a passphrase, but you're welcome to use one if you want for an extra layer of security. And then finally, we are going to test our SSH connection, and you can do that with the command that you find right over here. The output should look like this. Here, type the whole word yes, the whole thing, and you should see this. Oh, we made a mistake. My bad, sorry, that's on me. We need to copy our SSH key and we need to put it in our GitHub repository. So let's go here again. This is the command. Just copy the output of the command, which is your SSH key, and then we're gonna click on our settings page. Then we go to SSH and GPG keys, add new SSH key. We're gonna give this a name. I'm gonna call this Ubuntu Desktop VM Fall 24. Paste your SSH key over here. Make sure there are no trailing spaces, right? Make sure there are no trailing spaces, and then click on add SSH key. Now we can repeat our test command, and you should get this message over here that says that you're successfully authenticated, but GitHub doesn't provide shared access anymore. Now we will be able to clone our GitHub repository. Let's click on copy, paste it over here, enter. And this should download the copy of our repository to our computer. And now, if you open a text, file manager, you should see that you have a folder called CIS 106, which is the same as your repository name. And it contains the exact same files. So you have successfully added your GitHub repository to your virtual machine, and now you're ready to work. So let's move along with the next question. Now let's set up VS Code. So open VS Code. Now let's click on the extensions, and we're going to install these extensions over here. So we can just search them like that. Markdown PDF. And then I'm doing Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, that's it. Actually, this is the wrong one. This we don't need. Allow me to uninstall it real quick. This is the one. Then we need Markdown, Preview, Enhance. PDF preview, which will allow us to preview PDFs in VS Code so that we don't have to open another applications for that. And finally, if you wanted a code spell checker, right? That's if you need it, spell checker is good to have. And that's it. We finished installing the extensions. We can close VS Code as soon as this extension finishes installing. So close this. Now we're gonna set up our screenshot application to be able to take screenshots here, right? In the past, if you come across an older video in my channel, you are gonna notice that I used to use Flameshot. Now, Flameshot doesn't work on their Wayland, which is the compositor that Ubuntu is using now. And because of that, this creates a lot of extra work for us. So instead, we're gonna be using GNOME Screenshot, which is not as good as Flameshot, but it gets the job done. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're going to install the program. So copy the command, go to your terminal, paste the command over here. By the way, I recommend that you save this file. So I did Control S there, by the way, or you can just click on File and Save, and put it in your Documents folder and call it GitHub commands.txt. Just because there's, it's good to have this saved there for reference later. Now that we installed GNOME Screenshot, we are gonna replace the current screenshot application with GNOME Screenshot, so that when we press print screen in our computer, GNOME Screenshot is the application that's gonna capture that command, right? So let's click on Settings over here, click on Settings, then go to Keyboard, navigate all the way down to view and customize keyboard, navigate all the way down to custom shortcuts, add a shortcut, and here you are gonna type GNOME Screenshot. Make sure you're spelling it correctly, or just copy and paste it from the guide over here. Again, the command is gonna be GNOME Screenshot -I as in island, right? And when we press this key, this application will run. So let's click on Set Shortcut, and I'm gonna press the print screen key on my keyboard. You can use any shortcut you want. I just prefer print screen. Now click on Replace here. Now click on print screen one more time in your computer. If it launches the print screen application, as you see over here, right, which allows you to take a selection, then select whatever you want. If it opens, then you're good. If it didn't open, open the shortcut one more time, and just make sure you type everything correctly, delete the key and add the key again, and it will work. For some weird reason, sometimes the shortcut doesn't work. So the workaround that I found was just doing it again. Here is a video over here just in case. Now you have successfully finished your lab number 2. All you have to do now is submit. That's all you have to do. So again, you can pause here and come back to this lab later to finish it, or you can continue however you want, but this is a good stopping point. So I'm just gonna close this application, and now I'm gonna prepare my submission. The first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna organize our local repository, right? Because it's good to be organized, right? We want our project to be organized because we don't work like animals. And we want all of those files in their respective folders. So we're gonna create one folder called Week Reports. I'm gonna use camel case. We're also gonna create another folder called Labs. Then we're gonna create another folder called Notes. And then we're gonna create another folder called Cheats. Right, and you also gonna be needing a folder for your final exam, and you're gonna be needing a folder for your final project, but those are gonna be empty for now. So if you don't wanna create them, you're fine, right? So you create them now or create them later, it's fine. They won't be committed to GitHub anyway because they're gonna be empty for now. So now let's do the organization. And how do we do it? Simple. Now I know that this GitHub screenshot and this Slack screenshot, this, by the way, I'm pressing the control key and then clicking on the file that I want, just like you do on Windows. And I know that the week report one.md, week report one.pdf, they go in the week reports folder. So I'm just gonna throw them in there for now. And I know that Joe Doe, resume, Joe Doe, Ubuntu desktop, Ubuntu.svg. These guys go inside labs. And then finally the cheat sheet goes here. Next, I'm gonna go inside week report. I'm gonna create a new folder. I'm gonna call it WR1, which stands for week report 1. And I'm gonna move this to week report 1. Next, I will do the same thing with labs. I'm gonna create a new folder. I'm gonna call it lab 1. And I'm gonna move everything to lab 1. Simple as that. Once that I have my files organized over here, it's time for me to start creating my submission for lab number 2. So I'm gonna do this right over here because I have the file manager open. Inside labs, I'm gonna create a new lab called lab number 2. And this is where I'm gonna place my files for lab number 2. So I can close this and open VS Code. Once VS Code opens, I'm gonna open the folder, right? I'm gonna open my CIS 106 folder. You will always work inside your CIS 106 folder. Always open the folder and work from there, because if you don't, you're gonna break your repo. You're gonna break your repository, you're gonna make mistakes, and it's gonna be a pain to fix. You always work with your projects. VS Code is not Microsoft Word. We don't open one file. We open a project. We open a folder. That makes sense? I hope it does. And if it doesn't, you know what to do. You let me know and we can discuss it further. So yes, I trust the authors. And now I'm gonna go to labs, lab number 2, and I'm gonna click on the plus icon here to create a new file, and I'm gonna call it lab2.md. Make sure you don't forget the file extension. And I can just go here and copy this whole section and paste it right here, because that's all I need to type. Okay, I'm gonna save my file, and I need to take these screenshots, but I gave you instructions on what to do. So open a terminal. Good. Let's go here. Let's open a terminal. And now simply copy this command here. Or you can just use that single command. That's fine with me. Either or. It's just the first one is cooler. Run it. Wait until it's done. Make this a little bit bigger so it looks better. I like that effect. Okay, and now we need to take a screenshot of this. So let's press the print screen key. Alternatively, you can also take a screenshot by doing this. But this is gonna open the native screenshot application, and it's more steps. But you're welcome to play around with it if you want. I'm gonna press print screen. I'm gonna click on selection, and I'm gonna click on take a screenshot. I am going to select the area of the screen that I want. And now I'm gonna select where I wanna save it. So I'm gonna click on pictures, I'm gonna click on other, and I'm gonna go to home, CIS 106, labs, lab number 2, and open. The name of my file is going to be CPU fetch.png. Click on save, and you're done with the first part. Now copy this command over here, the whole thing. Make sure to clear the screen by using the clear command, and then paste. Press enter, and again another screenshot. Print screen, selection, take a screenshot, and I only need this part over here, so I'm gonna get what I need. The name of this one is going to be, I believe it's a script.png, a script.png. Notice that the folder lab2 has already been selected, so I don't need to do it again, and I just need to do is click on save. Now, let's preview our labmd file using preview enhance, just like we did on Windows. Do you see your screenshots? Yes, you do. You finish. So let's close this over here. This is very important. Now we're gonna convert this file to PDF. Export to PDF. And we need to wait until this is done. And it's done. Now we are gonna commit our changes and push our changes of our repository to GitHub. What this does is that this is gonna track what we did on our computer, and it's gonna mirror it or send it to the cloud, GitHub, and now our computer and GitHub are gonna be the same. Right, so how do we do this? We go to terminal, when we click on new terminal. Then here we're gonna type the commands in the following order. Git pull, git add period, git commit -m, and the label for this commit message is going to be lab2 complete. Press enter, and now we're gonna do a git push, and that's it. Now when you go to GitHub and you refresh, you are gonna see that your GitHub repository looks identical to your Git repository in your virtual machine. They are the same, right? With that said, now we're going to close VS Code because we don't need it anymore. In Blackboard, you're gonna give me this URL. You're gonna go to GitHub, you're gonna go to labs, you will go to lab number 2, and you're gonna open the lab number 2.markdown file. This URL you're going to give me. You are going to upload to Blackboard the PDF file and that URL. That's it. That's your submission for lab number 2. Okay, so let's go over here. I trust that you are going to be able to read this on your own. Please later on read this special note 1 and read this special note number 2. As a matter of fact, I recommend that you copy this over here and you save it in the text file for Git commands that we created earlier. Now, the last thing that I want you to do here is create a snapshot of your system. That's going to be a point in time. That's gonna save a point in time of our virtual machine. So if anything breaks later down in the future, we can revert back to that point where our computer was on a very usable state. So now I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna turn off my virtual machine, just like if it was a regular computer, power off. And in the Virtualbox window, I'm gonna click on the menu and I'm gonna move to snapshots. Here I'm gonna click on take and I'm gonna label this as snapshot 1, lab 2 complete. Click on OK and you are done. You have taken a snapshot of your system. At any point you can revert back. Our next snapshot is gonna be on lab number 3. If you have any questions, reach out to me. If you want extra practice, read the special note that I left on the lab. If anything of what we did here was unclear or you feel like you're still in the air, please reach out to me and we can have a tutoring session over Zoom or after the class is over. Take care. See you in class.